Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, people, and welcome to everyone joining the stream. Welcome to Footy Judge Mo. Merry Christmas to everyone celebrating Christmas. I hope you're having a good holidays and your family is safe and everyone is safe and everyone is happy and healthy. Bukayo Saka's out for Arsenal for weeks until February. Is that how big of a disaster that is that for Arsenal? Sad news, of course, for all the football community. I know that some people just celebrate it. I think it's just bad for the kid. He has been run to the ground by Mikel Arteta and he's been outplayed until he got injured. But anyway, we'll see if Arsenal can cope without him. Emphatic win without him, to be honest, in this weekend. He was subbed out and Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Havertz, Odegaard, they did a very, very good job, absolutely winning away from home. Manchester as a whole is down. As a whole, it's down. The whole city is just down. Man City, 1 win in 12. And Man United just Man United. They're just 3-0 at home to Bournemouth, and we move. Of course, Liverpool are top of the league. Mohamed Salah now surpassed Thierry Henry in numbers. For games played, for goals and assists in the Premier League, which is something that we never thought would happen from the one-season wonder, the Egyptian Mohamed Salah, of course, the one-season wonder. Here we are, 7 years later, he surpassed Thierry Henry. And Chelsea, very disappointing, to be honest. However, when a draw feels like a loss, Chelsea have really, really improved. When a draw away at Everton feels like a loss, it is absolutely what Chelsea fans hope to see. Hit that like button, guys, if you are here. And if you're watching us on the replay, hit that like button, guys. If you're watching us on the replay, let's get this live show to 200 likes live and maybe 300 to 400 on if you're watching this on the replay. How is everyone doing?
All right.
Healthy? Good. Healthy? Alhamdulillah. Everything is good. How are you, Vater? Yeah. Vater, you're right. You're muted.
No, I'm not.
Nothing's going right for City at the minute, is it?
No,
Can't even the mic's not even on.
Content creators.
Nothing's coming together for you at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. Hopefully, your holiday season's looking well, but football-wise, no, I'm not all right.
Let's start quickly on because there's a lot to go through. We can start quickly on the Man City thing. You're gonna win the next 3 games. I'm really convinced that this is gonna happen. I'm convinced this is gonna happen.
Yeah. What's got you convinced of that?
You play really not great teams. Who do you play? You play Leicester?
I mean, you play Everton next, and Everton have just drawn against Arsenal and Chelsea. So you
guys think that Everton? Listen, if Man City don't win against Everton, I think this is it.
Well, hold on, Mo. We're not a better team right now than Chelsea or Arsenal, and they both drew. So when you say
Chelsea drew away, Chelsea drew away.
Yeah, Arsenal drew at home,
and I lost to United at home. This terrible, crappy United. I'm not in any good form to be predicting wins. I can't do that.
Well, next 4 games are wins for Man City. Everton at home, Leicester away, West Ham.
I see what you're doing. You're building us up for the loss, so then it's
Brentford the way I can say you might not win. Brentford away, no. But to be honest, is there any so what is gonna happen if you don't make top 4 quickly? Like I don't want to
yeah, you don't want to speak on City much. Okay,
there is nothing, to be honest, other than. Is there anything else to be said about City that we haven't said about? What else can this manager do? What are these players? What else? They're not good enough. They're not putting the effort on the pitch. The players are not.
You think it's a lot? You think it's a lack of effort?
I think it's both. I think the tactics don't align with the effort they're putting on the pitch, and I think the positioning on the pitch is wrong. The execution is wrong. And Pep Guardiola is so stubborn to change the way he plays. He did some tweaks here and there in terms of personnel, but I don't think he's done enough to he hasn't changed enough. You're still pressing high. You're still leaving spaces at the back. That a position exploits spaces. It's the same story. And your defense is not good enough. Your midfield is not compact. That's just my take on it, to be honest.
Okay. I mean,
is there anybody has any other opinion than this, that Pep Guardiola is so stubborn and it's just not going to work?
I've said it before. He hasn't even tried to change it. I know people are going to say he's changed the players and the personnel, but he hasn't really made a shock to the system yet. I actually just want him to make a statement in that lineup where every single fan in the world is looking at that lineup and going, what's he trying here? Because at the moment, everyone looks at the lineup and goes, okay, same shit. They're going to lose again. And as Einstein said, if you do the same things expecting different outcomes, you're insane. So that's just what he's doing. It's not about, for me, if you're going to sit there and say you're one of the best teams in Europe in the past 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever the case may be, then surely the best manager of our generation or the world has ever seen, the footballing worlds have ever seen in history, can turn this around. Because you're not telling me all of these players, like the likes of Phil Foden, Gavardio, Kovacic, Matthias Nunes, all of these players that we're talking about have just all of a sudden turned into complete bombs. You're telling me that 1 in 12, you're telling me 1 in 12 with this set team? No, that's bullshit. I think City fans need to slap themselves and realize that actually the manager's getting it wrong. He has been stubborn and he has let them down. That doesn't mean you've got to have him out or you've got to go and go on a witch hunt, but you can be honest for a moment and just say, where's the shock to the system? This is Ange. The same way we criticize Ange about just, I'm going to play my way, I'm going to do my way. This is what Pep's doing. Pep hasn't just said, you know what, fuck it, Haaland, you're out. I'm going to play a false nine. Let me try something unique. Let me try something different. Let me revert back to basics. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing going on that you can sit there and go, Pep deserves a bit, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve time or get to January, but it is on him as well. He needs to sit there and go to these players and motivate them. What's happened to the great manager and all of these players that we've been saying when we put combined 11s together that not a single one of our players can get into, but all of a sudden you meant to make me believe they're not good enough to play football to win one. Even Southampton are doing better than that.
They're not.
Don't bullshit.
What the
fuck? Those players that we're on about now, they're not. They have aged out. They've hit that wall.
Tom, they haven't aged out to 1 win in 12. Tom, okay, they haven't aged out under the best manager to 1 win in 12. Tom, you're giving them. I'm sorry, and I'm not here to listen, Victor. This is not a banter show, to be honest, and we're not here to cook or anything. We're not here to cook or anything. But this monologue that Sol's done is spot on. These players are not 1 win in 12. They're not. No one can tell me that these players are 1 win in 12.
They're not much better than it, though.
No, they are, Tom. They are not Southampton.
Right now, they're not.
Oh, my God.
Right now, they're not.
They're giving them, oh, my God, 1 win in 12, bro.
But 1 in 12, you're telling me that you've got this set of players And you're telling me...
No, but we're
Can
doing...
I ask you something, Tom?
Right,
Can I
okay.
ask, no, let me ask you a question. I one question for you. One question for you. One question for you. Crystal Palace 3-0 at home against Feyenoord. Do you think Crystal Palace in 15 minutes dropped to 3-3? Crystal Palace at home. Is that a likely thing to happen with these Crystal Palace players?
Yeah,
guys. Be like,
well,
I don't see.
I just watched Crystal Palace concede fucking 5 on the weekend.
Not in 15 minutes. Not in 15 minutes. 3-0. Okay. Okay, you're convinced that you're convinced that these guys are worse than Crystal Palace players?
Right
are
now,
these players worse than Crystal Palace players?
Right now, these players.
Right now.
No, because that's how we do it. No, that's how we do. We have to deal with the right now because we can't do reputation analysis. Do I think İlkay Gundogan is a much better player than how he's playing at the minute? Yes, but right now he's not. Right now he is so slow. He's getting ran through in midfield. There's problems there. Bernardo Silva.
It's on the manager. Other midfielders play. They don't have to be quick. It's on the manager to absolutely hide the flaws of his older player that can't run. As Sol said, that doesn't mean Gundogan is being left to run as much as the other midfielders in the league. And that is what Sol is saying.
Against Palace. I thought he looked really lackadaisical in possession. So I don't know where this City side find changes with what it currently has as its setup until January, until they radically bring in different profiles of players. I think
has Pep tried to change it? Because I haven't seen that.
But why would he try? Okay, I get that it's going wrong, but why, when playing that way, has made him the most successful manager of all time? Why would he change it? Why would he go in?
One win in 12. One win in 12.
He probably believes that I think we can all see the players aren't working as hard as they should be, because as soon as Savinho come on against Palace, he was a level above the work rate of the majority of the other players. I think it's obvious to see that, yes, people are putting more numbers in between Manchester City's lines, making it more difficult for them to play the possession-based game that they've done so well and with ease in recent weeks. And I think, yes, part of his tactics might have been found out, but I don't think he turns away from it. He won't change. He'd probably rather go down with the ship.
Like a 1 or 2 games.
By the way,
what change?
Guys, he won't change, then fine. He's wrong. We are allowed to say that Pep Guardiola is getting it wrong. He's wrong. He won't change. He's wrong.
Okay.
Do we agree? Because do you guys agree?
What change does he make? How does he change this setup?
Sol's literally gave you examples of how he changed. Play false 9, drop the line, play deeper, play compact.
So Man City is struggling physically, and they struggle with an outlet anyway. So you want to take away their only attacking outlet for a false 9, which is intrinsically a more physical role.
I don't think you're getting it, to be honest, Tom. I don't think you're getting what Scholes is saying at all, by the way.
Who's playing false 9 then? If they want to switch to a false 9, who's the false 9?
It doesn't matter. Play false 9.
It does matter. No, but hold on. No, but Tom.
My opinion, you guys want. I think Pep Guardiola need to a little bit give the opposition the ball, play on the counter attack. A little bit. I'm not saying. By the way, let me just say. I'm not saying camp in their 18, but drop the line, give the opposition the chance to come out a little bit, play on the counter attack, play transition-based football, which is, by the way, he did it before. Against Real Madrid away from home, he chose to play transition-based football because he knew that at that time, the way to break this Real Madrid when they were losing 1-0 is to let them have the ball. And they broke them. They broke them and they got the top.
But this is the problem.
Against Arsenal. He chose to do it against Arsenal. Choosing to do it.
How many years ago was that? This is what I'm on about. 2 years ago. What I'm on about is the fact that, yes, transition. What in an ideal world, Man City, to get out of this rut, should go to a more transition-based style of play. However, transition-based style of play relies on 2 key factors: pace and power. What is the 2 things that this Manchester City team is struggling with massively at the minute?
Consistently.
Pace and power. They don't have the physicality to play transition-based football. If they try and hit a team on the counter, what wingers? Doku's injured all the time and has no end product. Savinho could do it. Outside that, Grealish isn't outpacing fuck all. Bernardo Silva's not outpacing fuck all. Transition-based football relies on speed, relies on incisiveness. That wouldn't work.
He literally has speed on this team. He literally He has the only thing Pep Guardiola has in the front line is speed. Let me give you the 4 players that provide speed. And actually, there is one player that is so suited to transition-based football at his team. The guy that he changed to be a retention player, Jack Grealish. I saw Jack Grealish drive with the ball in this Man City team from the midfield, from his 18 to the 18. Erling Haaland is very suited to transition-based football. Savinho is. Doku is. Phil Foden, by the way, is very good in gliding past players and does the transition-based football. He is suffocating them in tight spaces, and they cannot play. You know why Doku doesn't have spaces to run behind? Give Doku spaces, like he did a couple of times last season. Give Savinho spaces. Give Erling Haaland space to run one-on-one on a defender when he can turn in spaces. Give Jack Grealish the chance to run at defenders with spaces like he used to do for Aston Villa. This is why you're the best manager. This is why you're the most the highest paid manager in the Premier League. You do it. We don't have to sit on the National League and tell you how to do it. You're 1 win in 12.
Okay,
you're 1 win in 12. You do it, not me.
This is the problem.
We're giving them just our opinion. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Your opinion's fine, but this is the problem. And you guys don't. You guys will look at the players on paper and say, of course, you're better than Crystal Palace. Of course, you should not be losing or shouldn't have 1 in 12. But there's been a series, an inconsistency of players being available for these changing systems. Do this, do that you guys are describing. You're mentioning Phil Foden. It wasn't until long ago he hadn't consistently started because he's been out. Jack Grealish coming back from injury. Doku coming back from injury. And when you talk about the quality, do a false 9, put whoever you want. Well, who are we going to choose when certain bodies are available? You guys are telling me we haven't changed anything. Pep has had to have a different combination of midfielders when he said, you know what? Yeah, Gundo, you can't play deep. You can't be the sole 6. You need to have a partner of Kova. Kova's injured. He'll try to partner him up with a Rico Lewis. Pep has been doing a lot. Now, I'm not trying to absolve him. 1 in 12, I'm not absolving Pep, but I'm not saying it's solely his problem why he hasn't gotten this done. Because again, when you guys, maybe not on this show particularly, but when Souls is talking, when, Tom's speaking up, when you guys link up again and you're speaking on different shows, you're telling me about the player errors that you saw in games that cost me. You're telling me about how Walker's washed. And how many games have you told me, look at Walker just cost you, or look at the goal that he gave up, right? You're pointing out on what Nunes just did in the United game. So there's been instances where I think Pep has set us up for a win and it's resulted in a draw, not necessarily a loss, but we didn't get the result. There's also been games where I think Pep should have had a different combination of 11. Why didn't he start KDB, or why didn't he sub on KDB? There's questions like that. And I'm just not here. Again, it's the Rational League, so I'm going to remain rational. I'm just here not saying that this entire 1 in 12 falls on Pep, because I've seen us go into the games and I've been scratching my head like, who's going to play defense? What's going to be the combination in the midfield? Who could actually get subbed on if we're going to try to change the game? So we'll see. The upcoming games, Leicester, Everton. If I'm at the point where
it's mad, isn't it? You look at these games and you go,
I'm looking at these games and I'm like,
I'm not gonna win.
Give me a draw. I'm like, give me a draw. Like, that's what I'll take.
A point away to King Power isn't necessarily too bad.
And again, when we look at the run of games as well, look at the quality of Bournemouth. That's one of the 1 in 12 games that I've had to play. Liverpool, look at the form that they're in. Those are one of the 1 in 12 games that I've had to play. And obviously, no disrespect to anyone, me in particular. I don't disrespect any club I face in Champions League. But part of the 1 in 12 is losing to or drawing to Feyenoord, losing to Sporting, right? So losing to a Juventus. It's been a combination. It's been a combination of quality teams, lack of players, Pep maybe getting it wrong, but it's not just your manager is failing you. This club that's been the best for the last 4 years, where are they? It's not what they used to be. And it's close to no shots at Souls, but there were signs of this last season. Mm-hmm. The beauty about it is our Ballon d'Or hid a lot of this.
But it doesn't help when your man's playing mind games at your own club and I want to leave, and then all of a sudden signs an extension. They don't know what to do in the summer.
Who said I want to leave? Who said I want to leave? Pep never said he wanted to leave. Never.
Pep did say he wanted to leave.
No. When? Show me the quote when he said he
There was
wanted to leave.
a lot of things coming out of your club that Pep's looking to leave. This is his last season.
Pep never said that.
Pep never said he wanted to leave. He did say that all he would say is, my contract ends. He said, my contract ends.
Right, okay, okay. On the other point then sign the contract so the club knows what direction they want to go in. This whole idea of dilly-dallying on the contract extension and not signing it in the summer does leave a lot of questions for players.
You know his contract expires at the end of this season.
Who's?
Well, it did expire at the end of this season.
Pep's contract would have expired at the end of this season.
Yes.
So the dilly-dallying...
Sign an extension, yeah, but if he doesn't sign an extension, the players are going to be asking the questions. First question they're asking, who's coming in for Pep? Because if he's not signing an extension, then I want to know which manager I'm going to be playing under after this season.
Okay.
It leaves too many questions in the air for players who potentially want to come in, because it may suit Pep, but the next manager may not want that player he's just bought in.
So if I hear this correctly,
that discussion was all put to bed by the time they were going onto this bad run of form. I'm pretty sure that discussion was put to bed when they were top of the table.
But that affects your summer though, because now we're talking about players not being available. We're talking about
this is a hindsight conversation now.
Yeah.
It is.
It has not. You reckon they're going into training at this moment in time for the last 2.5 months?
No, not the current
and their
players.
questions have been, who's our manager going to be? Not a chance. They weren't even doing that in the summer. No way.
Players being
okay, hold on. I want to hold on, Souls. Dan, ask the question again.
That they are not going into training during the summer or now questioning who their manager's going to be. And I'm pretty sure it was all put to bed before they had this run of bad form.
I disagree, actually. The players didn't know that Pep's staying.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Now they've known since they've had their bad run of form. They've been aware.
That's only 1 month. They haven't won. They have won in since end of October.
Yeah, so for the last month and a half, they've been aware. They would have known.
When was Pep announced that he's staying?
He announced it before the Spurs. Before the Spurs game. But hold on. Let me understand the logic. Is the logic that this drop in form...
But I don't think it affected the form, by the way, at all.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand. So
I don't think that affected the form.
No. I'm not talking about, forget the current players, forget they exist for a second. I'm talking about...
He's talking about the summer transfer window, guys.
Yeah, the transfer window goes up in the air because they don't know which manager is going to be there for the long run.
So why does it matter?
Pep or is it... Why does it... Because you're going to want to know who you're playing for.
Because the current players or future players? The current players are fine.
I'm talking about players you could sign. Forget the.
So you mean so Souls? You believe we missed out on signing because Pep didn't commit to City?
Yes, because if players are coming in, some players, right, and maybe a large majority of players do sign for clubs due to the manager they could be playing under. Is it the right manager to develop me? Because they have to know which manager they're playing under, what philosophy. Is it going to suit me? Is that next manager? Say, for example, Pep leaves and you go for another manager. Is that manager going to like it?
I don't understand what we're doing here because that hasn't affected that. They started off flying this season.
No, but there were problems.
I just don't understand the point you're making.
There were problems.
They started off well, so that yes, maybe there were issues, but I don't think they were solely linked to him not signing the contract. They then, by the time this contract was announced, they'd lost 4 on the bounce. They've now lost another 8 since they've lost double the amount of games since this contract was announced that it was signed. Well, I guarantee you as well, by the way, that a month ago, that contract was signed a month before that. The clubs choose when to break the news. They don't break it the day it's signed.
No. Exactly. I'm not saying they chose to break. I know the clubs know beforehand.
Manchester City's poor form right now is not down to whether or not
answer the question. It's all on Pep then. Why can't he make the current players work? Because he doesn't have the right profiles available. He doesn't. What's that? That's summer recruitment.
They've won how many Premier League titles?
Please. I think this competition is moot. The reason why Souls is right in the summer, maybe you were right in the summer.
Yeah.
However, let me just finish, guys. Let me finish. But I think they started flying, so that doesn't affect their form. Like the transfer window in the summer doesn't affect Man City today. It's a choice. They chose Gundogan. They chose to have Savinho. They chose to play like this.
They will still sign players whether or not a manager is there.
I'm not going to go into this conversation because I don't think that City are as attractive without Pep, depending on who's the next manager. As attractive.
Of course.
No, but I have this energy for everyone.
No, I know. No, it's consistent. Like
Manchester City have still been able to sign
until you know who's there.
Yeah, Manchester City have been able to sign the top talent in world football for the last 10 10 years.
Yes.
We got top talent when we had Mancini here.
Yeah,
but
that's
Mancini's
what
a
I
top
mean.
manager as well.
Yeah, so there
Okay,
may
guys,
be the
I don't
next
think you
top
understand
manager
about
post
if, for example, if Man City
Aguero
just
didn't
I
Man
think
City
I'm
signing Kevin De Bruyne with
misunderstood.
Pellegrini.
Exactly.
I think I'm misunderstood.
Man City,
So
what they
is it-
pay attracts top talent. It's as simple as that.
It's not only that. The problem what
Helps.
Souls is
It
saying,
does help.
yeah, but what the problem is what Souls is saying is that if you don't know who's the manager at all, you might hold your decision a little bit. Even if the manager is Miguel Sanchez, for example, after Pep, and it's announced last summer, they still can sign player, telling the player, by the way, you'll be coached under Miguel Sanchez. You'll be coached under Vincent Kompany. You'll be coached.
You guys are assuming that we
the
missed
problem, guys,
signing.
let me just finish it. The problem always happens with the uncertainty. Players don't like uncertainty. Nobody does that. Nobody likes it. Any
I
player,
get it.
by the way, doesn't like uncertainty. Players like to know, even if you're going to have a manager that maybe I don't like, you can convince me with the project.
Mo,
Does
I
that make
hear the
sense?
uncertainty that you're talking about. I
Yes.
hear it, but it's.
But I think that point is moot. There's no point.
Yeah,
of talking
we're making an
about it.
assumption that we lost on
There's no point.
signings.
Then.
because
There's no
Pep
point of
hadn't
talking
commit.
about it because at the end they didn't sign in the summer. He
Also,
started the season flying without Rodri, by the way. So I'm not hearing the Rodri argument. There is Kovacic now that used to be, oh my God, the savior Kovacic.
But
Pep
then
Guardiola-
all I'm
He just
hearing is
came back, by the way.
excuses. That's what I'm trying to say then. Because if they started off and they didn't
Maybe
need to sign players, all of this, and why can't Pep get it right? Then it's not a 1 in 12. Then it's not. You can't. Then
Why
start
are you
blaming-
ignoring the point? Why are you ignoring the point when I say there's games where Pep maybe didn't choose the right 11, maybe didn't bring on the subs necessary, and there's games where I believe Pep got it right and the players cost us with regards to errors. How are you guys? And I'll just use the most recent example. How are you guys not looking at the United game and being like, you know what?
that game's not on Pep.
That's what I'm saying. That
He
game's
done
not on
everything right
Pep.
in that game, and
If you guys think
That
that,
play
it's up
like
to you.
that.
I actually think Man United were better coached on the pitch, but that's me only.
Better coach, execution, who cares? We were 2 minutes away
At the
from
end,
winning the game.
I didn't think that Pep coached a win in this game at home against a dreadful Man United.
But
I
do you
don't
think
think
Man
so.
United did?
I think Man United were coached better than Man City. They looked better on the pitch than Man City, in my
They
opinion.
Tactically,
They looked better. Actually, Man United players are worse than Man City players, and nobody convinced me otherwise.
They didn't look tactically better. They just had a structure. They were just more.
Okay. So that's the definition of tactically. They looked better.
No, because they didn't pick apart Man City. Going forward, they did fuck all until the 87th minute, which was a mistake of
But
City.
great.
Exactly.
But tactically, you literally said structure. They look better on the pitch.
No, but you're saying
That is
tactically, like Ruben Amorim picked
That is-
apart
that
Man
is-
City's
that
system
is
and dominated them.
tactically.
They didn't.
You
Man
want to go
City.
to the Etihad and dominate Manchester City, but they
didn't
had more.
dominate. They did not dominate Manchester. What is
But I never said that. I said he won't go to the Etihad and dominate Man City. I said that Manchester United, number one, had better pass completion, almost 50% position against Man City at the Etihad, right? And they look like they look like the team that knows where to pass, you know. And I think the quality failed Amorim, which is expected. The quality failed Amorim. It's very obvious
So
that
Mo,
United quality are not on board even with a bad Man City. We saw yesterday.
so when you see a City and another club matching in possession, you look at that as the other team outplaying it and maybe not the manager conceding possession? How do you
Say that
decide on
again?
when you see another team close in possession numbers with City? Your head says that team outplayed
Not
City.
only,
And Pep,
I saw-
hold on. And Pep
I
didn't
can tell
concede
you.
possession in that instance.
He did it, but Pep is not only about 50-50. Pep always play for the 70-60%
But
position.
in a game where you see, in a game when you see a
Okay.
50-50, you're not going to think maybe the manager decided to go against his philosophy. and
Actually,
concede
no.
possession?
You know
No,
why?
okay.
Because
Alright,
he
not
was
at the
trying.
moment.
Because he was trying to press all the time. He was trying to dispossess Man United, and Man United were finding the passes between the line
No,
and
we
getting
weren't
it to the
pressing
wingers
entire-
who couldn't
we were
get
not
the best
pressing
out
the
of Man
entire game.
City. I
Okay.
tried to explain to you, and you don't want to. Okay.
No,
You asked
but
me a
we were not
question
pressing the
later.
entire game. That's inaccurate.
You asked me a question that you were. Man United were absolutely by the way, the word pressing, you mean pressing the goalkeeper? No, you were playing a
No, I
little bit
didn't.
high. You were trying to prevent Man United from playing between the lines. and they were still picking the passes between the lines. They were putting the balls to the wing backs, trying to take your defenders one-on-one, but they couldn't because the quality is fucking not there. Dalot trying to take on even
that's exactly what Villa did, Mo. That's exactly what Villa did, and they had the quality, and they got.
But Villa is much better than Man United. Then we agree.
They are exactly, but Manchester City Pep hasn't changed anything in terms of his philosophy yet. He's not saying here this team should have more of the ball. His Manchester City team are still trying to press. Honestly, they just don't look like they've got the energy.
So we agree. Anymore. We agree here.
I agree.
We agree.
Pep right now has not conceded having possession of the football. He still wants his team to have the ball. He still wants his team to press. They're just not pressing quick enough right now. Pep used to have his teams win the ball back within 7 seconds. I watched that Villa game at the weekend. I was counting the 7 seconds. They didn't win it back once all game inside 7 seconds. And that's the difference.
Before we move on, Mo, I'll just say I'm going to
City before we move on. Go ahead.
Hopefully, I get to return to another show if I happen to join, and I will start with my sharing of note taking, because we don't for an entire 90 minutes press. We don't have the ability to. We don't have the players to. So when I'm now saying, listen, I see Pep's conceding possession here. Yeah, maybe he'll have Haaland get onto the keeper, so the keeper has to pass the ball, but not all of us are pressed up to try to suffocate them. And we'll have the conversation. It's the rational league, so we'll talk rationally.
But Vader, the reason is that you've never been this poor in possession. You've never had to press for this duration of time. So because your players are losing the ball cheaply in midfield, you're then having to press for longer periods of time.
No, but we're not. No,
yes, you are.
No,
you are having way less of the ball in the areas that you're used to having it.
I know, but we're not pressing to try and win possession back.
Because I don't believe your team is conditioned to do so, because I don't think it's been out of possession this much in his whole time of being a Manchester City manager.
Exactly. But with the personnel that we have, and the point that you made in terms of within 7 seconds, we're trying to win it back. We're not playing that style, and Pep's changed that because of
you are playing that style. No. He hasn't sat there and gone, I'm going to play a different style. He's got his players trying to play the same style. They're not able to do it. Your players are being caught in no man's land. Hence why teams are cutting through you with ease. That's why Villa made it look easy. That's why players like Morgan Rogers in transition absolutely ran through Manchester City's midfield, because your players are caught in no man's land and physically they aren't able to keep up with that. And that's why players like Pau Torres in that Villa game had a lot of time on the ball, because your players are currently, I don't think, in the condition to play in the way that they've been so used to playing, because their defenders in Pau Torres, in Matty Cash at times, in Lucas Dean, they had the ball way more than ever before under Pep Guardiola.
If you see us losing possession and you see every player to a man trying to win it back, then we're watching different games.
No, go and watch last season.
I know last season. I'm talking about this season. We are not.
The style's not changed. The style's not changed. The players just aren't able to close down those gaps right now because you're out of possession.
If our players aren't able and you think our manager is still telling them to do that, then we're in disagreement.
Okay, he is.
I don't think City is stuck between a rock and a hard place, in the fact that these players, yes, the ideal scenario is they change up. The ideal scenario is Pep figures out that the right sort of cautious way to play the game and City bounce back to form. My problem with that is City's squad is not made up to play a style of football at the minute. That squad of players is not good enough. But whether you like it or not, they are not good enough to achieve what City should be achieving this season, and they're not good enough to play the style of football that Pep Guardiola will want to play at the intensity Guardiola will want to play for 90 minutes week in, week out. They're not. They won't be able to handle that. And then if you try and take them to a more defensive mentality, the problem there comes, these fuckers haven't played defensively for 7 years.
They don't know how to defend. They literally don't know.
That's something that gets drilled into you session after session after session after session.
Right.
These fuckers haven't done that. So if Pep just suddenly went one day, right, 4-4-2 mid block, they'd be even worse, because they wouldn't know the positions to pick up, and teams would just exploit the gaps. Right now, the only thing they can do is stick by what they know and hope that muscle memory carries them through it until they get to January.
Hope for the best. Guys, 500 people here. Guys, we're not even in 200 likes. Hit that like button. All the guys' channels are in the description. Vator, Dan, Nobbins, Rory, Tom. Souls doesn't have a channel yet. But listen, hit that like button, guys. Can we get to 200 likes live now, guys? Hit the like button and it's underneath your live chat. I don't need to show you how. Told you Chelsea drop points, Tom, but you laughed, fraud.
Jinx.
Thank you. Big up, Spartacus. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate the support. Guys, let's get 200 likes. Dan just sent me something. Going by that logic, the game against Arsenal is unfair then. We were seconds away from the win. All I hear is excuses, bruv.
Yeah, Arsenal deserve the win that game.
It's not you, by the way. That's not you. That's City.
Wait, going by that logic, against Arsenal is unfair. What? The draw was unfair because we played to the very end. We got the draw. You guys defended for your lives with 10 men. All made sense. But again, that's how some of these wins, losses, and draws go. This is how a 1 in 12 happens. Like, you would not go to that game and say, Arsenal fans would not say that Arteta got it wrong. Would they?
Oh, he had a red card, to be honest. Listen, moving on. Moving on from this. No, if we start talking about Arsenal, it won't end. But listen, this is just a picture that Dan sent me with Man City's press. And that is what happens. You still press and you try, but it doesn't work.
We don't.
I know that you said
for an entire 90 is my point.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
Yes.
No
one does. But you always had more possession that you never needed to press for the amount of time.
Anyway, I don't want to go into circles with this, guys.
You are still pressing man for man when out of possession, and that's why you conceded the first goal when Duran scored as well.
Listen, to be honest with you, I think we'll have to wait and see the Everton game. Everton are going to give you the possession. You're going to create chances. Then we're going to see. Where do we go? We go Liverpool or title race, though. Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. Let me ask you guys something. How does Bukayo Saka's injury affect the title race? Does it matter?
I don't think it's as important as Sterling's injury that's just been announced.
Yeah, that's the big one, Raheem. What are you going to do without Premier League winner, experienced professional Raheem Sterling? He's been so important for that Arsenal team this year. Losing him is probably the real loss out of the two.
They're losing a winner in the locker room.
Exactly.
Fuck off, y'all. Souls, go ahead. Souls, go ahead.
I mean, look.
How does Saka's injury affect? Guys, for the people that don't know, Bukayo Saka had a grade 2 hamstring injury. Normally, it's between 6 and 8 weeks, depending on the recovery. So he's out until end of February as of now. That's what the words are saying. The games that he's going to miss, for the people that don't know, he's going to miss, of course, the Ipswich, Brighton, Brentford away, the 2 cup games for Newcastle, Manchester United in the cup game, in the FA Cup. He's going to miss Spurs at home, Aston Villa at home. That's what the games are announced. Of course, the Champions League game, but that doesn't matter. Wolves away, the Girona game, the Man City game in the league he's going to miss. The Newcastle game away, Leicester, West Ham, and supposed to be back for the Nottingham Forest game. That is, for me, that is a disaster for Arsenal. However, it's on the manager now. Man City won the league last season having Kevin De Bruyne out for half the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as it's a disaster to lose a player of that quality, especially in the Arsenal team where we do lack quality in game winners, we've got to find a way. And if Arteta's as good as we think he is and as good as he says he is, and, if this project is meant to be where it's meant to be in 5 years' time, Bukayo Saka can't be the difference between winning a league title and not winning it. And granted, we haven't won it yet with him being in the team, but we need to find different ways of, finding wins and finding these players to step up. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a blessing in disguise, but it can actually turn a team into a better squad when an injury like this happens, because the reliance on a player, because every single time you're going to be looking at Bukayo Saka to get you out of the rut. Now when they look up and they don't see Bukayo Saka on the pitch, someone's got to step up. Someone's got to make their name and, shine the light on their name. And that could turn us into a better team for it. And then when Saka does come back, it can make us a better team with him in it, because it starts to make other players believe that actually we can get it over the line. But when it comes to, the injury in itself, I mean, if you're losing him for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it may come to, it's a hard amount of time to not have one of your best players on the pitch, and it can definitely turn against us after 3-4 games. We might be able to cope for let's say the next few weeks or the next few fixtures, but then we'll miss the Saka in the team because then the sort of plan starts to wither out, that sort of form starts to wither out a little bit more. You know, similar to like Rodri, when Rodri wasn't in the squad for City at the beginning, they did go on to win like 4, 5, 6 games, but then you started to see the absence of Rodri. And that's probably what's going to happen here, where we go on to a win of, let's say, 5 games, 4 games, whatever it may be, and then we'll start to see the real effects of Saka not being in here. But that takes us into January. If the club is as ambitious as they say they are, and they want to go on to win, this is the perfect time to prove it. We've lost our best player. We've lost the backup that you signed in Raheem Sterling, whether he was going to be any good for us or not. Are you going to go out and show the fan base that you're an ambitious project, that you're actually going to go and back the manager that you've had for 5 years, that you're going to go out there and actually go and sign a player? That doesn't mean we're going to go get a world-beating player, because in January it is a very difficult proposition unless you're willing to pay over the odds. But are you going to show the ambition now to go and get a player who can get it over the line? And that's what I'm looking at more than this Saka injury at the moment. How ambitious is the manager, and how much is he willing to trust his squad to actually get it over the line?
So no excuses for you. No excuses.
Why would there be an excuse for one player? I'm sorry, one player getting injured should not change the trajectory of your expectations.
Salah gets injured, Liverpool have excuses.
No. One player should not change the trajectory of your team.
Salah is out. Liverpool fans will come here if they don't win the league and say, "Oh, we have Salah out."
It makes it harder for sure.
No, you guys know, if Salah is out, God forbid.
No. For
5 years, Liverpool fans, if they don't win the league, oh my God.
But there's a difference. So Salah's had like what a season. I'm talking like 5 years into a project, and you decided that you're never going to get a backup for a guy. That's on you. Because if you think the squad is good enough in this period of time to go into it, and you're going to get one injury and that's going to collapse everything that you're doing, then clearly the squad building hasn't worked. Clearly this project is shit, because you can't just have one player go out, as good as he is, absolutely ruin.
Bro, he's the catalyst of your team, bro. He's very good.
No, but then the project's a failure then.
Over 5 years, you think there hasn't been a backup for Saka?
No, they haven't.
Had a backup, no.
So, but the versatility.
Victor, did I show you before the money they spent? Arsenal are the least. They spend the least amount of money on forwards since Arteta arrived, and it's comparable to others.
No,
it's 25% of what Chelsea spent the least amount on forwards from all the teams since Arteta arrived. All the top 16.
Okay, that's fine, but who has their academy brought up, and who has the versatility to also play out there?
Has it not been this?
Has it not been Jesus? Has it not? I know Sterling didn't cost much, but has it not been Jesus? Has it not been Sterling? Has it not been Trossard who was to play on both sides? Has it not been a Martinelli who could play on both sides? Has it not been any of your young players that could also play in a role to be backup to Saka?
Not a backup to Saka, though. They haven't deliberately bought that player to be a backup to Saka. That's to improve the first team. Every single signing that we've made is to bring in an impact into the first team, not to replace Saka. Because there hasn't ever been a right winger that we bought. Every single player that you're naming has predominantly played off the left, other than Jesus, who was actually bought as a false 9 for us, because this was before Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz was bought in as a midfielder.
Yeah. Check this.
We've never really gone out there and actually targeted a right-sided player.
Check this, guys. Amount spent on forwards, strikers, and wingers by the Premier League Big Six in the 5 years since Mikel Arteta's appointment. And put in your mind that Liverpool at that time had Mane, Salah, Firmino, so they didn't need to spend, and still spent more than.
I mean, we did need to spend though, because we haven't got 2 of them now, so we had to replace 2 of them.
Oh, and then you got Nunes at least. You got Nunes.
The difference
you got
in
Diaz.
Arsenal's
Nunes and Diaz by themselves is better than Arsenal signings.
Is it? Is Nunes and Diaz better than Havertz?
In terms of
No.
In terms of the profile, when you signed him, Darwin Nunes was coming from a 30. Forget now in hindsight. When you signed Darwin Nunes, he was coming from a 30-goal league season, and Luis Diaz was the star in the Portuguese league. You don't understand. I'm not talking hindsight.
No. Because the only reason you're bringing up that graph is because hindsight shows that Arsenal should have spent more, because the attackers they've got haven't performed. So we can also
let me tell you the difference.
On my points.
I don't think you're okay. Hear me out. Let me tell you the difference. When they signed Kai Havertz, he was the failed player from Chelsea. When they signed Trossard was a backup. Gabriel Jesus was the player that Man City wanted. Okay, we'll give you to Arsenal because they want challenges.
When they signed Trossard was the top scorer for Brighton. They were having the best season in the Premier League so far.
They spent in January 30 million on Trossard. You want to tell me that's 30 million in January tells you how much the player was.
Good deals
because
now.
De Zerbi and Trossard had a falling out. That's the only reason it cost so little.
That was signing Trossard was a good signing.
What's your point, Tom? What's your
point?
Do you know why I brought this up? Because I think it's a failure from the board and Mikel Arteta to ignore that. By the way, that is my point, Tom. I think you missed the point here.
I haven't though, because my point is, I want you to go look at all them teams. 19-20 is where that cut-off point is. Out of Liverpool's first choice front three, one of them remains. Out of Man City's first choice front three, none of them remain. Out of Tottenham's first choice front three, one of them remain. Out of Manchester United's first choice front three, one of them remain. Out of Chelsea's first choice front three, none of them remain. Out of Arsenal's first choice front three, two of them remain. So they only needed, out of all the starters, Arsenal only needs to buy one starting forward. Everyone else has had to buy minimum two, if not more. That's why they have spent more, because they have not needed to go to the first 11 in their manager's eyes. But that's hindsight. I'm going by the fact of the matter is, Mikel Arteta sees Martinelli as a starter.
So what's your point? I want to hear your point.
They haven't had to spend as much money as others because they haven't needed to buy as many forwards as others.
Oh, okay. So you think that is fair because they had players and others didn't?
Their manager felt that they didn't need to buy as many forwards because they had two starters and everyone else only had one. So I don't use that graph as like, oh my God, that's a terrible thing. I look at the forwards they've bought. For the most part, they've been sound. The one thing that I think Arteta should have done more is trusting the youth. The likes of Reece Nelson. He came in, he got big moments in one season, and then he got fucked off again and not trusted. You can't buy. I'll put it this way. Bukayo Saka starts every single game. He starts every single game for Arsenal when he's fit. How the fuck do you sell a backup to that?
But they got in the dream, and Arsenal fans said he's gonna work out. AFTV told Arsenal fans this is gonna be the dream.
Why they say I can't get a 6 at City because of the quality of Rodri.
That's the point. Look at the level of player that you said they could get as the backup. A washed-up Raheem Sterling who wasn't even wanted by 6th place Chelsea, being forced out of that club. Like the type of forward that Arsenal fans want them to have as the backup would not accept being the backup. They're in a bad. They're between a rock and a hard place there because Bukayo Saka starts every game, and the guy who would be the backup gets minutes in the cup. If they got the cup early, he gets fuck all minutes in a season. You cannot sell that to a player unless Mikel Arteta was willing to start resting Saka more, which he's shown no sign of doing, regardless of what.
But he can't though. Like, what are we going to do when we drop Saka? There is no one there that can actually play that role.
But that's the point.
As much as Saka's been consistent, as much as he's been unbelievable, and he's been fit actually for a lot of the time that he's been obviously starting, hence why Arsenal probably haven't gone and signed an out-and-out winger. Why can't they sign a backup? Chelsea have 3 players that are capable of playing there in Neto, in Madueke, and in Cole Palmer. Why can't you go and sign a backup? Why can't you in January go and sign Semenyo? Why can't you keep Reece Nelson? I don't understand.
I want to hear Souls. I have an explanation, by the way. I want to hear Souls, but go ahead.
Okay, but these players believe in their own ability to back themselves and will compete against whoever is in front of them to try and get into the 11. And when their opportunity arises, they will do their best to take it. Look, if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. But I can tell you right now, 90% of players would rather be Arsenal competing for a starting spot against Saka than playing at Bournemouth. I can tell you that right now.
No, 100% I agree. But in terms of like the Reece Nelson, people have got to let that go. He's not good enough, even as a backup. He's a mid-table winger at best. But when you the names that you sound like Mbeumo, however you say it, Semenyo, like players like that are definitely going to want to make a step up in their career, especially with the kind of start that they've had in the Premier League. They're going to want to make that step into, wanting to fight for a space. Like these guys have got egos and arrogance that even says to them, even if they're not of the quality of Bukayo Saka, that they want to compete against a Bukayo Saka to get into that team. And by the way, don't forget that left-hand side is freely open for someone to take as well. As much as, yes, they're a right-hand side player, if they really impress, Arteta may make a move for them to go, okay, let's try you on the left to see if you can replicate that form. Because Martinelli and Trossard, yes, as good as they can have in moments and stuff like that, Trossard off the bench is a lot better than he does starting. And Martinelli at the moment, I don't even know who this guy is. I feel like he's been kidnapped in Sao Paulo, and like they've got a doppelganger in his place, because I don't recognize this player at all. So that left hand side is open. You know, even in the middle, down the middle as a false nine, if someone can play that dual role, there's that role as well. The attack is shit. Other than Bukayo Saka, we don't really have a concrete starting striking force or a left winger. So if they really back themselves as much as we say and as good as they are, they would have a role in this team. But it's whether they want to have the ambition to go and show it. We're seeing Chelsea. Chelsea has spent £1 billion on their squad, bought backups for backups. Yeah, and we're sitting here and saying a club like Arsenal, with the history that Arsenal have, we can't go and get a Bournemouth winger. We can't go get a player from from like Wolves. Like, we couldn't just go and say to Pedro Neto, look, we're going to manage your injury because you've been like obviously like nursing injuries, you know, stuff like that. Yes, you'll be a backup to Saka, but let's see how you kind of go out with your fitness. Make it and manipulate the situation to work in your favour, that the player understands why in their first season they may not be getting a starting role, but let's see how your injuries go. Because Pedro Neto, look at him, he's cooking at Chelsea. Touch wood, I mean, I'm not hoping he gets injured or anything, but, you know, he hasn't been injured and he's played quite a lot of games starting for Chelsea. So why couldn't we go and do that? It was only £50 million. It's not like they would have spent 150.
Because you said it yourself, Pedro Neto's starting at Chelsea.
He is now, though, but we could have told him, look, you've been nursing injury.
Neto's playing on both wings at Chelsea, so he was the ideal signing and profile for Arsenal to go after, and they just didn't. And actually, Chelsea moved in silence with that and surprised everyone in the league when we signed him. But he was the perfect profile as to what Arsenal needed. He's perfect backup for Saka when Saka's not available, and he's good enough to occupy the left wing if Martinelli or someone else isn't. He's the perfect type of player to up the level of the baseline of the squad. That's exactly what Neto does.
Neto had the label of being injury prone, and a lot of Arsenal fans didn't want another injury prone player.
Yeah, but Arsenal fans aren't in the boardroom making the signings.
Of course not. But in terms of the player and why quote unquote didn't make perfect sense is because it would have been another injury prone player. Has he been perfectly available for Chelsea?
Not true, because Chelsea had 45 injuries last season, I think, in total, and they went after him. And now he's being managed because there's enough players for you, or enough players. Well, if you let me finish, there's enough players to manage his minutes. Arsenal, if they'd have signed Neto, would then have enough players to share the minutes between Champions League and Premier League football, between players like Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, Nwaneri, Neto if he signs. Havertz has played out wide in the past. Jesus has played out wide in the past. You're telling me that Arsenal wouldn't have been able to manage Neto's minutes? It's just not true.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. We sell at him with the idea of managing his minutes, seeing how his fitness goes, and guaranteeing him a starting position if he can stay fit.
And also, if he gets injured, it's a way easier situation for the manager to just turn around and go, right, well, he can't play because he's injured.
I actually think Arsenal has a big problem. The problem with Arsenal is that I actually don't think they can convince a top player to come in and battle it with Saka.
There's no battle.
You know, okay, hold on. Let me give you an example. Even when Man City winning a treble and winning leagues, they really can't convince a top striker to come sit on the bench for someone who starts every game like Haaland. By the way, there is a difference between Trossard fighting Martinelli, because Martinelli is not in Saka's stature at Arsenal, like Haaland for Man City. Do you think Man City can go to a striker for example, come in, you're going to play when we don't need Erling Haaland?
No, Manchester City used to have 4 strikers.
Yeah. They couldn't. Okay. Dan, the reality is Julian Alvarez, like, it's either I play
they signed at the same time. They signed at the same time, and I think Alvarez was probably of the understanding that he wouldn't be taking Haaland.
And my problem is, I don't think Arsenal can. So then, I don't think Arsenal actually are in a place now because they haven't. You know, if Arsenal win the league this season,
of course they can. They just signed.
I disagree with you.
Okay, but they just went to, like, for example, they went to Mikel Moreno and they went to Calafiori and they said, "Come and sign for Arsenal." In their meetings, in their discussions, they would not have been saying, "Oh,
not for
worry,
Saka."
You're just going to be." No, they wouldn't have been saying you're a squad player. What, you think £100 million Declan Rice?
Yeah, I am not. So I think we had this discussion.
You think Calafiori looked at the defense and went, "Oh, I might not get in above Gabriel." No, he's going to back himself.
He's definitely getting in on that left side.
Yes, exactly. The quality.
And also there is one more thing.
He's a centre back. He's not been. He's not a left back.
No, Calafiori played left back for Bologna last year.
And also, there's one more thing we're forgetting.
By trade.
There's only one more thing. The difference is, I agree with you then. A player of the Calafiori caliber, a winger from Serie A, if the Arsenal go, that winger might come in, a winger that played for Bologna. But do Arsenal want to go for that backup, or do you want to go for the players, as you said, Semenyo? And I'm not saying that Semenyo better than Calafiori, but a player coming from Serie A, not getting paid high, there's not a lot of people that will pay a high wage for him. He will come in and battle it for Arsenal. And also, there is a difference when you're going in to be backup for Haaland or Saka.
Jorginho came in from the back of a Chelsea side that had just won the Champions League.
30-something years old.
No, when he came into Arsenal, Thomas Partey was in his way. He didn't mind. The best players back themselves. The best squads have multiple players.
You're coming from. This is how Chelsea. This is how Chelsea
sat there at Real Madrid as their left wing, and they signed Mbappe.
They're never gonna replace. Mbappe was never gonna be playing over. If Vinicius Junior has to battle for his place now,
yes, but do you not think in training there was a slight moment in Vinicius' head, like, hang on, why are they signing Mbappe if they've got me?
Yeah, and he goes and asks if I'm
going to have to up my level here.
Now
Ancelotti has been forced into playing both players.
I disagree. I think Vinicius Junior, we must have had a conversation with people. If you're signing Mbappe, I'm battling for my position. There's 100 clubs that would want me and pay my wages. I'm gone.
No, Mo, these conversations, they don't happen. Like, I promise you now, managers barely. I
actually know that they do, actually.
They don't, Mo. I promise you, they barely happen.
From pros, I know
they don't happen. They don't happen. I promise you.
Anyway, we're not going to argue this.
Oh, my God.
Listen, guys, before we go on, very interesting conversation, actually, then. 650 people and more. We're not even on 200 likes. Hit that like button, people. Couple of super chats. The one super chat that is related to what we're saying. There is no competition, only Arteta's favorites.
Yeah,
that is another problem then. They know that if Saka's fit, and Saka doesn't have a long injury history then.
But Modo, like the point that Dad's making is, why don't you go for Pedro Neto, who can play on both flanks? Like, he's not always competing for Saka. But let's just say this scenario comes up.
Read this. Kroenkes didn't sign anyone in January. Seriously question ambition. Osimhen, Nico, Lookman all have release clause. Dibbling has 18 months left. Semenyo, no excuses. Also, Hybrid Ultra said that Kroenkes didn't want to spend the money on Neto. Neto was available, and Arsenal didn't want to spend the money on him. They were scared of injuries and all this stuff.
Can I correct that? The Kroenkes are not the problem. The Kroenkes have made the money available. They made the money available for Mudryk. They made the money available for any player. They also made the money available for Declan Rice. Said, okay, you need the 105 million, go get it done. This is what their stance has always been with these big signings, especially if Arteta signs off on them. Now, if Arteta, with Mudryk as well, by the way, the only reason he went to Chelsea over Arsenal isn't because he favoured the Chelsea move. It's because Arteta turned around and said, we don't want to spend that kind of money on Mudryk. We don't think the value's there. That's why they pivoted away and went for Trossard. The Kroenkes said, if that's what you want, you go get it. So I don't blame the owners, because their job is make the money available, get the right people in the positions to go do their jobs. If they turn around and say, we don't want it, what do you want the owners to do?
Anyway, I want to go to the football a little bit and forget that. Gabriel Jesus should be given the chance to have this run of form. Everybody agree here, right?
Well, he's going to be. Scoring... He's going to be now, because they've got no Saka and he's the only guy who can play on the right wing.
Oh no, I think that they're still gonna play Havertz and they're gonna play Trossard or Martinelli on the wings. I don't think he sees Gabriel Jesus. I actually now I'm convinced now that he doesn't see Gabriel Jesus as a winger. He doesn't. He had the opportunity to start, even give him a shot at a winger, but he would rather start Sterling in the second fiddle games and start him as a striker. I'm convinced he doesn't see him as a winger.
Who else? Right, okay, so Mo.
Trossard left, Martinelli right, and Jesus up top.
But it's a second fiddle game. You want to rest your starters. So one of them two is a starter. Why would you play both your starting left wingers in a second fiddle game? Obviously, you're going to play the backup in Sterling, who barely gets a game anyway.
Okay, here's the quote, right? So he says, Gabby's played there, Nawari's played there, Trossard and also Havertz can play there. We will talk internally and see what the best solution is. So he has used Gabby, and he has said Gabby's an option.
We'll see how it is. But
you
guys think that Kai Havertz again should be the striker and Gabriel Jesus on the right side? I don't think that was going to work.
No, Havertz will play centre mid, I think.
There's multiple ways.
Who's the striker? I'm confused now.
There'll be situations where Havertz needs to go up front, and there'll be situations where Jesus is up front. But I think Jesus isn't going to be every single game starting as the striker. I think there will be games and there will be moments where Jesus has to go out to the wing. And they'll play.
There will be, of course. There will be games, of course, because now within 9 games they play 3 games. There has to be a rotation. Within 9 games, they play 3 games.
But the Arsenal game at the weekend, Havertz added so much, being that extra man in the box, coming from midfield, where they were able to cope with Odegaard and Partey there.
I'm not going to speak on it, but fine.
Havertz, I actually think that role suits him. I think what you don't want Havertz to do in that role is be deep and on the ball in centre mid, where I actually think he's a little bit risky.
There was a problem. I felt in that game there was a problem in regards to, and better teams than Palace would punish
the transition.
Arsenal, because Kai Havertz and Odegaard playing together, it kind of left the DM isolated at the point. So whenever Palace went long, because of the way they
any drop, any time Mateta had the ball,
the second ball was Palace's.
Is their defense not good enough to cope? Like, their defense is definitely good enough to cope. If they
have
defense, 4 players back,
defense, it's very good, but it can't. No defense in the world can deal with 15 transitions. And that's what teams will start.
You need the 2 DMs. You need the Declan Rice or the Moreno to play the 8 rule to at least. By the way, the goal that Palace scored, and I'm going to repeat this. I said that the goal that Palace scored was very simple. Thomas Partey on an island by himself. Sarr drifted to the middle, knowing that there's no other DM, there's no other midfielder that is covering him, and he was free because Thomas Partey was covering the right side. This is the other 8's role that next to Odegaard. You know the right.
But then what?
Again, that would not. Then let me just consider that wouldn't be a problem against Ipswich. Then we know.
But it
will be against Brighton and Brentford.
Pretty good in transition, so it might actually be a problem against Ipswich.
Ipswich would be one of the games where you look at it and go, if they can get it up to Liam Delap and you can hold it up and bring in Amari.
Really?
He has been a threat in transition. Ipswich aren't too. It's probably just a poor pick of the bunch of names. You could have said any other team, right?
But Leicester's a team where it wouldn't be a problem because Vardy's not going to hold it up in the same way.
Exactly. No, Tom's right there. I completely agree.
Brentford and Brighton for me are the teams that you need Moreno or Rice next to Partey. Otherwise,
but what Havertz offered going forwards meant that they were able to have the ability to outscore them. So it's worth potentially conceding 1 on a risky counter-attack when you have the ability to add extra firepower going forward.
I actually disagree with this. This is your opinion, Dan. I disagree. I think actually Havertz in this game didn't offer as much. He offered something, but he didn't offer as much.
The reason is though is because
did you see that how he scored? Yeah, Gabriel Jesus, it hit the post. That is presence. I get your point.
By the way, his movement to put himself in the position to score from there is fantastic.
By the way, Moreno has presence in the 18. Even Declan Rice.
I don't think Moreno has the instinct that Havertz has in that situation.
No,
he had 2 touches in the 18. By the way,
yeah, but Kai, that doesn't. I get Dan's point in the sense of that goal that Kai Havertz scored. That's a strike, his instinct.
Yes, being in the 18. I agree with you there. I'm not going to disagree.
No one picked them up because they saw him as the centre mid, and the centre backs aren't going to go and pick up a centre mid. They'll leave that, and he just ghosted through the back post, which is exactly what he wants to be doing.
We agree.
I think the point though is when you go against the likes of Brentford. I'm going to use Brentford as the example because I think they're a more apt thing than Brighton. Because what they want to do now is they want to place that big Igor Thiago fella up top and having Mbeumo and Wissa running off him. That's the kind of situation where I think if you're playing Havertz and Odegaard together, you're gonna run into some trouble in terms of controlling that game. Because what all Brentford will do is get it to Pinnock, get it to who else have they got? Van den Berg or whoever's at centre back, and play it over the top, bypass the midfield, bypass the press, get it into Igor Thiago, who won't put himself on a centre back. He'll put himself on Partey, and he'll try and drag one of the centre backs out, and then they will and then he will hold it up and bring in the wide attackers who will be in the space vacated by the fact that you've got Odegaard and Havertz just not in those positions.
That's why Rice has to play with Havertz, not Partey. Partey is a good DM if you're going to bring a Moreno or Rice next to him, someone who's a bit more of a physical presence in that way. But if you're going to do this, it's the reason why people don't think Havertz can work in midfield. This works if you have a better, like a Rodri style DM, or you have a Rice style DM, not a Busquets type DM, someone who's a bit more on the ball, press resistant, who can actually, you need a defensive minded player, not a forward thinking player. And that's what I think fixes this.
Couple of super chats before we go to Liverpool and Chelsea. Lamine Camara from Monaco is the next great DM. I swear, my man, I don't watch a lot of French league, but thank you. Keep an eye on the name. Appreciate the super chat massively. Maybe City will go on him in January. Maybe City will take him in January. Lamine Camara. They had successful signings from the French league. Bernardo Silva. Maybe. Highbury Ultra. These fans are the problem with the club. Mendes is good friends with Edo. Neto wanted Arsenal, so did Arteta. They weren't willing to front 50 million. Neto wanted Arsenal. Cronkies are approaching 8 years in full ownership. Time's ticking. Whose fans are the problems, Gabriel? You're talking about Souls? Mendes is good friends with Edo. He said that Neto wanted Arsenal. The Cronkies didn't want to spend the money. That's a response to you, Souls, to be honest.
I mean, even if that is to be the case, it's not proven by the history that KSC have had since their full ownership. Because if the board want them, if for example, Edu or Arteta, especially Arteta, if Arteta said yes to a signing, that signing is happening. So that's a false narrative. You can go and look at the reports. Ornstein's reported it. All of the big journalists have reported. Mudryk didn't happen because Arteta said no to it on the valuation perspective. You did want the player. Now, when it comes to Pedro Neto, there's probably various reasons why they didn't want to go in for him. Because it's not just the £50 million that they have to pay. There's signing on bonuses. There's also back-end deals. Mendes isn't a guy that you just don't pay. You're paying tens of millions to Mendes alone. So they probably sat there and thought, actually, we're going for... Because don't forget, at the same time, they were talking to Nico Williams. Now, this club does move stupid at a lot of times where they go for players that don't want them. We've seen this with Vlahovic. We've seen this with many other players where they ring the agencies. The agency says no, and they don't move quick enough on these signings. Chelsea then moved in and swooped in for him before we could go back in for him. But that's part of the problem. I actually
disagree with you. I don't think actually the Cronkies, after the Sesko deal, they didn't want to spend on a winger. They wanted to spend on a forward, which was the approach of going for Sesko, trying for Gyökeres. They didn't want a winger. They wanted, this is why Raheem Sterling was an opportunistic signing at the end, but they didn't want a winger. That is my opinion on it. They wanted a striker.
KSC don't care about that. They've never cared about what player you want to go in for. That's always been a board derivative.
He's saying he knows what he's talking about. Like,
I know hindsight's a powerful tool, right? But say Arsenal had signed Sesko in the summer. He scored what? 1 in 3 this season. What would we be saying about that signing? Would that have been enough to get them over the line? I
said Sesko's not good enough for Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't
actually don't. Damn,
in the right way.
I don't think Arsenal are in Chelsea. Some people still want Arsenal to sign a project player like a young. I think Arsenal now, after 5 years with this manager, you need to sign established players.
They kind of skipped the project by mistake.
Like, to be honest with you, Declan Rice, established footballer. Even Trossard was an established footballer.
Saka established now.
Like, by the way, Calafiori maybe, you know what I mean? But now, you don't go for, well, I'm going to sign a player and see how it works. Can he play under Havertz or not? No. You go and sign a Gyökeres, an established forward. You go and sign a Vlahovic. You like it or you don't like Osimhen. You like him or you don't like it. That's not us. That's the manager's decision. You know what I mean? Sesko can be the starter even for his team. And Arsenal wanted to sign the guy. That's what I mean. Forget this project shit. Established footballer. You're already 5 years into this project.
Don't forget obviously he's probably going to get a move this January or summer, but even someone like Nico Williams came off the back of like the hype of the Euros. I think he scored 1 goal this season. So Nico Williams for Bilbao.
But Nico Williams is having a bad season. But again, if Arsenal signed Nico Williams and it didn't work, I wouldn't have blamed him because he was an established footballer. Spanish international.
His flaws were always end product. His end product has never really been consistent.
And arguably that's what Arsenal need because Martinelli has no end product. If they go like for like there, that's the issue. They actually
Arsenal need a ready-made. Like, for example, you know, in the summer, Dan, me and you were speaking and we said, enough of the projects for Chelsea. Khalas, go and sign. And they went and signed Neto. They went and got Tosin, who was already 5 years or 4 years into his Premier League career. He has played in the top flight. That's what Arsenal need. And Chelsea, by the way, skipped the project. Now, Chelsea, the projects are for resale or something. But I promise you, if Chelsea go sign players to start now, they won't be projects. There will be established footballers.
I'm not sure on that moment. That's a whole different topic, whether or not we've skipped the project. I actually think we're still in it. And they'll still add players.
I'm saying that, Khalas, you already signed the players that will make the cornerstones of the project.
Right,
now you're gonna add to that. You did in the summer. You added players that are already made. Anyway, go to the actual title race now. Liverpool and Chelsea.
But so you're saying that you think if Chelsea went to the market, they'd recruit someone of the likes of Osimhen, Gyökeres?
Osimhen, Khalas, yeah.
You reckon they would? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
You still
if
might.
Chelsea signed Liam Delap, I wouldn't even be surprised. You know what I mean?
You would still sign players for the project, but they won't be to improve the first team. John Duran, people say a project. I don't think at this time, John Duran is not a project. The guy is putting Oli Watkins on the bench. Like, this is not.
John Duran is a great example, by the way, of the Saka debate. Oli Watkins scoring so many goals. And it was almost like, why on earth would you keep Duran around? And he got linked with like Chelsea and other teams. And he said, no, he's going to back himself. Now look, he's almost at the point where he's dislodging.
But remember, he wanted out. He wanted out.
He did want out.
Because of Oli Watkins starting. He wanted out.
But he also backed his own ability. And now he's arguably dislodging.
Nobody wanted to buy him for the price they wanted. So he had to stay. But anyway, it's for different.
There you go. But at the same time, that's exactly what Arsenal need to do with their other positions where we're questioning whether or not a player is good enough to be starting or not.
Title race. Chelsea, Liverpool. Can anyone catch Liverpool in this title race? 4 points with the game in hand.
Oh, my God.
What?
Yeah,
last week it was
I never changed.
Oh, my God.
You know, the question we need to ask is whether or not...
Did you answer this? Did you answer this
about... Because in recent games, your defense is the thing that's given me belief that you could be caught.
You said Chelsea would not drop points, Tom, last week.
Like I said, jinx.
You jinxed. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead. Good question.
Yeah, Tom, your defense in recent weeks has not been great. You've been conceding a lot of goals. Are you worried about that? Because I think that's where Liverpool could slip, is on their defense.
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm looking at it. We conceded 3 to Newcastle. At least 2 of them are silly mistakes. The three against Tottenham yesterday, 2 of them were when we were 5-1 up and we switched off, which, you know, I don't mind conceding goals at 5-1 up. It is what it is. We weren't conceding opportunities and chances at 3-1, etc. Fulham 2-2. One of them comes when we're down to 10 men. Not much you can do necessarily there. Silly mistakes and stuff that needs to get sorted out. But, you know, I'm not too worried that for the most part we're still defending pretty well. Not giving up many high quality chances. I think we're just getting the unlucky rub of the green where at the start of the season they were missing the chances. Now they're starting to score the chances, and you know it goes that way. But we're still as potent going forward. So even if we do get dragged into you know, tennis matches, we'll win them. But you know, we're still missing Kanate. He's back soon. You know, probably a week or two.
What about that Salah thing? 26 GA, and then the next one is 9.
I mean, yeah.
Saka, by the way, someone sent me a tweet. Saka actually contributes 45% of Arsenal's GA this season. Saka's more.
Yeah,
sorry, Salah is more.
Terry got this stat up the other day, and like Liverpool's is quite high. Like the dependency on Salah to contribute GA. But I mean, he doesn't get injured though, Mo. Like he's gonna be there.
When we say dependency,
no, the drop in form, maybe.
No, but drop in form. Salah barely has an off game.
What drop in form? Are we guaranteeing it's coming? Because
nobody's guaranteed anything. I wish not. He's Egyptian. I want him to be.
He's getting better, isn't he? Like he's
getting better by the week, actually, which is crazy.
The reason why there's a dependence as such is because he's the attacker that we go through in the attack.
Once he posts the Christmas picture that people, as Hussam said, told me yesterday, this is when the.
I mean, people say
every year.
People say that he's normally quite good. People say that he's normally quite good around Christmas. It's when he has AFCON and he falls off. But look at yesterday. But we basically had Salah doing no work. He was literally told to stud up there, wait around Archie Gray. When we get the ball, we're going to give it to you, and then we'll have runners around you, and you create or you score. Third goal comes from that. Fourth goal, he's in the right spot. Fifth goal, again, makes the run right spot. Sixth goal comes from him and his creativity. But that's by design. There was moments yesterday where he made the incorrect decision, but when you give him the ball time and time and time again, in the right positions time and time and time again, regardless of if he's in good form or not, because yesterday wasn't even one of his better games. There was a fair few moments where you look at it going, oh, you probably should have made a different decision there. I would have done something differently. And yet he still leaves with 2 goals, 2 assists, because just because the numbers state that we're reliant on him. Would there be a drop off if he wasn't there? Yes. But do I think that Arnie would just adapt the system to fit the players that would be available? I do.
Yeah, true. That is true.
Fine.
He's pragmatic in that sense.
So what I took a little heat when I said that I noticed Mo raise his game or alter his game, right? You can argue whether he's lost a step or not, but you can definitely see that he's looking to. There's an added trust in terms of his creativity, him looking for teammates. And again, the Liverpool fan thought that I was taking shots, saying that there was a selfish Salah early in his career and a more confident, self-assured, know who he is type player now.
He was selfish.
Yeah. So,
any good goal scorer should be.
Exactly. So you're seeing a more matured Salah where he's like, I know who I am. There's nothing more. There's nothing for me to prove.
We're seeing Salah who's got the keys. So the problem that not saying a problem, because
that will bring me to a fantastic point to Palmer later that I want to discuss with Dan.
But with Salah, in the years gone by, he was never given the license to be the chief creator, because the chief creator was always the fullbacks. The system was built around getting the fullbacks the ball.
Yeah, and a combination of Firmino.
And if you want to create to the middle, it was Bobby dropping in. Salah was never really put in a position. He would still get 10 assists in a season, but he was never the creative hub like he is now, where we give him the ball 20 yards into the opposition half with space and go, we'll have runners off you. We'll have people making runs there and there. You can either cut inside and shoot, or you can play that pass, or you can play that pass. It was always a case of, right, you need to stand on the edge of the box or just inside the box. Trent's going to put a cross in, be ready for the second ball. Or Robertson's going to put a cross in, be ready to be there at the back post. He was never given the license to be the chief creator, really. Whereas now, under Arne Slot, because we're limiting the fullbacks a bit in terms of bombing on as much, I think falls onto the attackers to be the creators, and I think Salah's taken that role
as a rival, obviously, or outside looking in. I see a more mature and a more trusted Salah in terms of your decision making. We'll go by it. So yeah, he's up there as a threat. Any opposing team needs to be worried about Salah. So ball at the foot, you're like, what can he do? But at the same time, I think there's trust in his decision making to be like, yes, those runners are going to be out there. I'm going to trust them with the pass, and if it comes down to it, I'll still get mine. I know how to get my shot off. I know how to make myself threatening. And this game in particular, when Mo brings up kind of like the dependency or the number of goals that Salah contributes in this game, honestly, pardon the expression, but he stat padded, right? His goals weren't needed in this win, but you still see the quality of what he means to this team. And I think the early talk about him getting 20 goals, 20 assists, that's very realistic if they continue playing like this and he has the trust in these players. But I don't think anyone. I like Dan, I'm sorry. I don't think anyone's catching Liverpool. I've seen this type of reaction.
Anyone catching Liverpool?
I was about to say I've seen Liverpool be so optimistic. I've seen them. You know what? City are off it this year. We are not giving them a sniff. If anyone's going to be threatening us, they're going to have a brilliant season. That's what Liverpool have done in the past when we won our back-to-back and they went out and got theirs. Now, after a four-peat, they're like, City aren't about it. We're going to go do this. I don't think anyone's catching Liverpool.
I like that yesterday.
In the form he's in. He's playing unbelievable.
But even as you're saying, Salah's been very good. Yesterday, as you said, Rita, Diaz was very good. Yeah, Diaz was really good. Dominic Szoboszlai was really good. I thought Cody Gakpo had a good game, even though he didn't necessarily get a goal or assist. I thought what he was doing on that left-hand side was really important. I thought McAllister was great. Even if, let's say, Salah has a 50% good game, I've got an element of trust in other players to step up and fill in that void, which I feel like other teams and other Liverpool sides in the past haven't necessarily done as well. Whereas now, you know, I back Diaz to step up in Sutton. I back Gakpo. I know Diogo Jota can pop up with a goal when I need it. The midfield's working very well as a unit. Trent had probably his best game of the season yesterday in terms of an all-round performance. We needed a bit of a statement win in terms of, you know, we'd drawn with Newcastle, we'd drawn with Fulham. The performances hadn't necessarily been brilliant. They've been fine. He had some good moments, but they weren't brilliant performances. And then we went. The 6-3 is massively flattering for Tottenham because we switched off for 10 minutes and didn't really care. In reality, that was closer to a 7-8-1. Like, we absolutely fucking snotted them in terms of the chances that we had, the chances that we missed. You know, Szoboszlai put it wide when he took it around the keeper. There was some big moments there as well. So I couldn't be much happier. And it was a big win right when we needed it. Because, you know, we got Leicester next, which at home should be a pretty easy game. Then you got West Ham away, which could be tough. And then you got United at home, which is always a big game regardless. If we get through this period, winning all three, I think that I'll have a lot more confidence.
Tom, there's so many things lining up. The fact that game got delayed versus Everton.
I know. That storm has helped us out like you fucking wouldn't believe because we were not beating Everton. I'll tell you right now, we were not beating Everton.
It's crazy on how things are lining up. No, but it's I don't want to go too far saying it's destined, but again, Liverpool know when to strike when the iron's hot, and they look unbelievable right now.
Absolutely, they look phenomenal.
There's a lot of credit as well. I think tactically he's been brilliant in pretty much every game. He's identifying weaknesses and he's making sure we punish them, which I don't necessarily think we were doing last season. I think we were playing our way last season, but we weren't necessarily identifying other teams' weaknesses and punishing them. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Gravenberch done an interview after the game yesterday and said that the manager told us before the game we want to make sure that when they're playing out the back, they give the ball to Dragusin. Whenever Dragusin has the ball, leave it and start to gently press him and cover off his passing lanes. He'll panic. When we have the ball, go to the other centre-back because he's not a natural centre-back and we can punish them there. Stuff like that, which I don't necessarily think we were doing as well in the last couple of seasons. We're now zoned in on it and we're punishing teams for it. And games last season where we might have dropped points, we're now getting over the line in it. And even the games that we have dropped points in this year, they're not bad drop points in a sense. You know, away at Arsenal, you know, you take a draw at the Emirates. Forest is probably the worst result, but even then they're fucking flying. They're a really good team, which, you know, shocked us. Newcastle away, they've beaten a lot of top teams this season. Fulham at home, down to 10 men, and they've got a good record against a number of top teams this year. So it's not even like we're throwing away points to opposition that you shouldn't be doing it. So I couldn't be much happier at the minute, and yesterday was a real statement.
Tom, did Slot say that in a press conference about Dragusin?
No, Gravenberch. So Gravenberch said he done an interview and he said that's what the manager told them about Dragusin.
Yeah, he's so clued up. I remember one of the first, like very early on, the way he just come on Sky Sports, didn't he? And he just literally opened up and was completely honest.
He just broke down Man United.
Yeah, he just broke them down, and it was like, wow.
They'll do that, and they'll do that, and then we'll do that, and then we'll
and it was so open, it was so honest, and it was so clear that anyone could follow those instructions. I just watched him and was like, this bloke is special. Like, he just gets it. And we even saw against Chelsea mid-game, like he was making adjustments to make sure you got that result. And he said that arguably that was the game where you weren't at your best. I think he's fantastic. I actually think Liverpool have done so well getting him in.
I know Vitor will have to go. I wanted to ask you something, but before we do that, let me say, Vitor, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Just gonna move this to 4. I wanted to do a couple of super chats, and I wanted to ask about something I said yesterday, and people didn't like it. A couple of super chats to do. Nags Game saying Gakpo and Diaz both have decent returns. They just split minutes. Both have 24 GA combined.
Yeah, yeah. So the thing with Liverpool is if you look at it by individual players, it looks like a really bad split in terms of Salah and then a massive gap. In reality, if you do it by position, the right wing's got like 30 odd. The left wing's got 24. The problem is my striker's got 11.
Yeah, that's true.
If my striker was able to bump that up to the 20s, all of a sudden you're splitting the goals. There's a little bit of a boom on your right-hand side because you've got a Ballon d'Or level player there in some of the best form of his career. But all in all, you'd have a very even split of your attack, and it wouldn't be as big an issue as I think people are making out.
Jack Housen, thank God Konate and Tsimikas coming back. Konate is going to make a massive difference to Liverpool, to be honest.
He will do, but I also think Joe Gomez has been very good.
I think so as well. President Java, I don't like that Maresca refuses to sub Palmer when he's having a stinker and using Kunku or Felix in the 10. Great segue. Because I think that Palmer FC thing, that we don't want to be Palmer FC, has been taken too far. That the players are bypassing Cole Palmer on the pitch. 2 times yesterday, he received the ball across the 18. He dribbled and he had a couple of very good free kicks because they had to take him down. And the rest of the game, they were bypassing Cole Palmer. And they were going to the wingers, Enzo and Caicedo. And not because he was marked, because he's asking for the ball. Because Cole Palmer FC, we don't want to be Cole Palmer FC. And I think that is hurting him. That is my opinion.
Yeah, but Mo, he had an opportunity where he crossed the ball in for Jackson to get an assist off of a really good bit of play where he was utilised, and ultimately it didn't work. I think Everton just did a really good job. I think Idrissa Gueye and what's the other midfielder called? Mangala. I just think they made it really difficult for Chelsea's players that were getting in the 10 positions to have an impact on the game. And I actually think that's why Maresca probably decided not to bring on João Felix as well, because I think he just thought, I don't know how these players are going to be able to break down this sort of Everton defence that's in front of him. But what I didn't like yesterday was I felt like Chelsea at times were trying to cross from the half space against Tarkowski, big guys defensively. And I just felt like even Ashley Young was winning headers aerially. And I just felt like that was wasted from Chelsea, and a bit of frustration where they felt like they could potentially have a chance of scoring from crosses against Everton, who are probably one of, if not the best side defended in that type of situation in the Prem. I just think Maresca got a few things wrong yesterday in a horrible, ugly football game. Because that's just like, if you imagine Chelsea's squad and you literally built their absolute like enemy of a game that they would just want to not play in, it's that game. It's windy, it's wet, it's horrible, it's physical. It's everything Chelsea's squad is designed not to do. And that's why I think ultimately Everton come away with a draw. I was looking at Everton's stats afterwards, and don't worry, I know they didn't score 29 goals. I actually think that was last season's stats, but they've only lost 2 in their last like good amount of games. They haven't lost, I don't think, more than 2 games since September. So they're actually not in a bad run of form as it goes for Everton. They just can't score. So that was a difficult game at the weekend. I just think
I don't think it was that difficult. I think you had spaces more than when Arsenal had. I checked the heat maps. I checked the spaces. I think Maresca got it wrong.
What was Arsenal's score?
0-0. Yeah, I'm talking about Everton at home, Arsenal.
And
Everton
I actually think
Arsenal's
team is more designed to go for the physical battle than Chelsea's. I just think Everton made that like a really horrible game to play in.
I thought you were too slow. I thought Chelsea were too slow, Dan. I think you were too slow.
I think Everton frustrated Chelsea in that sense. What I found yesterday that was a real issue was I thought we'd gone away from this, but Gusto kept arriving in the 10 position. And that's been a bit of a problem earlier on in the season. We went away from that and started winning games. And Enzo Fernandez was allowed to be in that position and play like his dynamic 8 role. Yesterday, Enzo Fernandez played in a role that was more reduced, didn't have as much impact on the game when he's been in really good form. I actually think what Maresca did with Gusto and Disasi, it was just the wrong move. I probably wouldn't have played Disasi.
But don't you think the approach was completely wrong by being too slow? The passes were too slow.
I think the game was always going to be slow, though, Mo, because of the weather. I think the weather makes that game a horrible, difficult game to play in. It's slow.
The wind yesterday was the wind yesterday was arguably worse than.
Yeah, do you know what? You're not the first person I've heard say
one. Because I know a couple of Evertonians who go to the game, and they were saying that the weather yesterday was shit. It was really bad, and both teams have to play with the wind, but one team is more suitable for playing with the wind. One team style football benefits when the shit conditions because they don't lose as much. Everton just want to kick ball long and hit counters.
Also, Tom, I completely agree. I can see it all in the comments, and obviously the super chat was based on it as well. And I don't really feel like I answered it. If Palmer was to be subbed off, what are we expecting from the players that come on? Because I don't think they've got enough credit in the bank to suggest that they should be on the pitch over a player like Cole Palmer, who's a match winner. I'm just not sure that João Felix, in that type of game, in those conditions, offers more than Cole
James
Palmer.
Tarkowski would have fucking eaten João Felix alive.
Eaten him alive. I agree, and it was
twice.
It was almost the same with Nkunku as well. Nkunku came on as at the number 9, and straight away, I just felt like the profile of Nkunku was the complete wrong profile to be bringing on in that game. And that's where I think in the summer, where Chelsea were after Omarodi and after a John Duran, to be a second striker in the squad.
Himself about a bit in those situations.
Right. And I think in that type of game, and people are saying to me, "Oh, you only play that game like twice, maybe 4 times in a season. That's 12 points. Like that's worth having a striker that has a different profile that you can bring on." So, by the way, credit in the bank does for a lot. We said this about Saka. Credit in the bank is the reason Cole Palmer didn't get brought off, because he scored so many goals, because he's been reliable for Chelsea. João Felix, look at his numbers.
If you're chasing a game with 10 minutes to go and you need a goal, you're gonna keep your top goal scorer on, even if he's not having the best game, because he's your top goal scorer. I've watched Mohamed Salah for years have shit games, and then you keep him on the pitch and he scores.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what players do.
And I ultimately thought that that's what Maresca probably could have done yesterday. Was defensively we were coping. Calvert-Lewin was really their only asset going forwards, and then he got swapped for Beto, and they had minimal numbers going forwards. I think we could have reduced the centre midfielder or centre back down, and then ultimately kept Jackson on the pitch the same time as Nkunku.
I said that in my analysis to the game. Yeah. I said he was too cautious for some reason.
I think that. I don't know whether maybe
another thing. I actually think when I say Cole Palmer shouldn't be bypassed, you know, Odegaard at Arsenal. If Odegaard is showing up to you and he's asking for the ball, you give him the ball. If Mohamed Salah is showing up to Szoboszlai or Diaz or Gakpo or whoever, you give him the ball as long as he's available and he's creating the angle for the pass. I'm not saying that Odegaard score all the goals, or for Liverpool, Salah has the assist. But I mean, you have to have that guy on the pitch that all the teammates trust. And I know that a lot of Chelsea fans don't want that. They're like, no, we don't want to be Palmer FC. I'm not saying last season was Palmer FC, where 30 of your GA or 30 goals is Palmer. You're like, everything is Palmer. But I'm going to repeat again. I see Enzo and Caicedo skipping Palmer when he's available for a pass and going for the winger to try. And these are instructions. And Cole Palmer get frustrated. And people say, well, Cole Palmer had a 10-minute, like yesterday, Cole Palmer had a 10-minute spell where he had one touch on the ball. Okay, that's his teammates are not bad. Because I never see Cole Palmer standing still on the pitch, by the way. He never stands still. He's always trying to create angles for his teammates. But they don't trust him. And the problem is, Odegaard is the same. It's not about trust. Sorry, I misspoke. It's not about trust. It's about, we're not Cole Palmer FC. I'm Caicedo, I'm Enzo, if I see the winger is free, I'm going to go to Neto, let him beat. Instead of going to Palmer, make him decide, should we go to the winger or go central now? Which is what Odegaard for Arsenal does.
No, but I think yesterday wasn't a game where you can go to Palmer, because
because Mangala and Gay were in Palmer's area.
Everton were playing a pivot that was just designed to, the moment Cole Palmer got the ball, fucking hit him.
And they got 2 free kicks. They could have scored from them.
Yes,
yeah, that one of our free kicks was so wasted as well. I don't know what we did.
The two of them were wasted. One of them hit. 2 of them hit the wall.
Yeah, and Enzo took it. Enzo took one.
That relying on getting free kicks to win the game isn't reliable enough. I understand why Chelsea went wide, because out wide, Everton didn't have options there.
And you'd favour your one-on-one.
He literally didn't do anything out wide.
No, but Neto beat his man, beat Mikalenko a number of times.
They didn't. They were doubling on him. Why? Because
where we really lacked was the left-hand side. I think we saw how much we've actually appreciated Cucurella this season. doing that. Like I just think Chelsea on the left-hand side.
I don't know why Madden.
I don't understand why you say they don't rely on free kicks. If Palmer getting the ball and he's creating a shooting opportunity and they foul him because he dribbled 2 guys, that's not him looking for a free kick. That's him being dangerous.
No, but he's not going to do that every time. Cole Palmer's good. He's not going to do that every time. I know
he's going to make a pass. He's going to create a pass. He's going to create a chance if you give him the ball.
He's not though.
Why not?
I just know how games at Goodison.
Well, how do you know?
Because I've watched plenty of games at Goodison. The ref will shit himself at one point and we'll just start giving Everton the benefit of the doubt with the tackles. They'll get 3 or 4 free kicks.
You're assuming, and I'm assuming that Palmer, because he's brilliant, he's going to create a chance.
Mo, I'm not assuming. I've watched plenty of fucking games.
They could have, Mo, they could have easily had a red card yesterday, and Jordan Pickford could have easily given away a penalty.
That evil,
I know,
hater, bitter guy need to be stopped, and I said that since the Van Dijk tackle.
Do you remember the other day?
This guy is protected because he's England's #1 goalkeeper. This guy is going to break someone's leg and there is not going to be a comeback from it. He does it so many times, or he goes with his feet, or he goes with his knees, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And I said that yesterday. This guy, someone need to talk to him, or he needs to get a red card. They should have given him a red card yesterday. You don't go flying with both studs because and hoping that the opposition will skip you. Will avoid he's flying, and because the opposition got scared and didn't go for it fully on, his foot is not broken. This fucker needs to be stopped. He's a disgrace. He's a disgrace of a footballer that knows what he's doing. I called out so many others. I know exactly when a goalkeeper is going out with his feet to injure a player, not to get the ball.
Yeah, that challenge anywhere else on the pitch is probably a red card. It was scissor action. It
weren't even the worst tackle of the weekend. Have you seen the one in the Brighton West Ham game?
I even thought better.
Nah, Stupinian tackle. Which was stupid as well. That was absolutely, that's a disgrace. It's a disgusting tackle.
I don't know if anyone saw Beto's attempt at potentially getting himself sent off, but he was gonna bust Colwell's knee right away. Exactly right. From the side, you are twisting his knee. Yeah, that's intentional.
If Colwell hadn't moved his leg in the league, if they're not punishing,
no, but it only happens every now and then. If you fucking give red cards and you suspend them for 3 games or something and give them a hefty fine, nobody will do that, bro. Jordan, do you know why Jordan? Sorry, Tom. You know why Jordan? You know why Jordan Pickford next game? You know why Jordan Pickford next game is gonna do the same, and he's gonna go with his elbow because he hasn't gotten anything. He hasn't given him a yellow card. He got yellow card for wasting time.
Yeah, so you're saying he keeps getting away with it, so keep doing it more.
He's going to keep doing it.
So we agree on the same point, and I'm not just using Pickford. I'm going on pretty much every week now. I'm seeing red card tackles get glossed over and get waved away. Someone is going to get seriously fucking injured unless they clamp down on. And I don't care if for 2 weeks it's a bit harsh because it's about safety at this point. That is stupid and tackle on Max Kilman is one of the worst I've seen. If Kilman is lucky that his foot isn't fully planted, if his foot is planted, that leg is fucked.
Yeah,
that leg is fucked. And this is happening every week.
Did any of you see Casado's tackle against Mbuemo last weekend? Like, it was a definite red.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so high.
I don't think so.
No, it was a red, and he got away
because
with
he was literally trying to kick the ball. Not just
Tom's right. There's so many going in.
You cannot tell me that Caicedo's tackle is similar to Beto or Pickford. Like one is going for the ball, jumping.
They said, didn't they? They said that they didn't feel the intent was there, but I'm not sure how they do it.
No. But it doesn't make any sense though. Because...
No, guys. But there is a difference between the players that jump into. Okay, Stupinian, Beto, and there is a difference between when you miss the ball and your foot lands on the opposition's shin because you were late. That's fine.
But the rules can't.
Beto was never getting to the ball, and the ball was not even there. He's just jumping into the leg.
Okay, but Arsenal have had 2 situations, right, where they've said it's intent, even though there was the player wasn't even going in. There wasn't even contact with the player. But they said because of intent, they gave the red card. So they're not even looking at it if the actual tackle lands on the player or not, or if it's even close to getting the player. Even though it happened to Xhaka once where he went 2-footed in, got the ball, didn't even get the player. But they said with the way he went into that tackle is why we gave the red card. Now, that prevents players from doing that sort of thing. Look at look at the time wasting, let's say now, it's reducing because people are getting yellow cards for it. Especially like Arsenal, we've also got a red card because we've got a yellow card for wasting time, and then a few seconds later, you got another yellow card for wasting time, you got a red card and got sent off. So now that kind of starts to create the narrative, you can't do this. But if you're going to constantly get away with it, guess what? That's why we had a time wasting problem. That's why a few seasons ago we had that where the average games were being played were between 30 minutes to 40 minutes or 45 minutes of actual on
Yeah, that is horrific. Yeah.
But if they then do the same initiatives to these where the intent has to, like, if the intent is there or the tackle is of a dangerous caliber and that constitutes a red card, I know it's going to bring a bit of confusion because people are going to say, well, was it, wasn't it? But they have to keep it consistent. If it's a two-footed studs out tackle, that's a red, regardless of if you get the player or not.
Yeah, they didn't see Van Dijk's knee getting bust because Jordan Pickford was a fucker running into his knee.
We've all watched football. We know when there's a red card tackle. But the fact of the matter is they're not giving... I'm going to go back to the Chelsea-Tottenham game. Caicedo should have been sent off and Kulusevski should have been sent off and neither of them were sent off. And that just encourages them to do it again and again and again. Something needs to happen or someone is going to get seriously fucking injured this season.
Someone already did with Jordan Pickford.
Who?
This season.
No, this season.
Last
Van
season,
Dijk. Van Dijk.
Yeah. No, but
yes,
no.
I know,
obviously, that was a
what
really bad injury. But Tom's talking like Aaron Ramsey injury.
Like I think someone's leg's gonna get fucking snapped.
That's what I think. Whose shin pad was it? Was that Max Kilman's shin pad that went the other day?
Yeah. Went out
his leg for a minute.
It was horrific.
This is what the PGMOL are doing wrong. Is they try and bring in make these decisions subjective to the situation, and they try and actually predict or judge what is going on in the player's mind to see if there was intent there or not. I personally think it's got to the stage now where
intent's never mattered. Intent can't matter because you can't know what a player's intent is.
Exactly right. So they need to almost say if it's anywhere above the ankle or boot line, anywhere above that, it's just got to be a red and actually make it
factual. If it looks anything like that, forget about whether they're going for the ball or got the ball or not. If it's anything of that nature, straight right. And the problem is, right, the reason why we're getting harsher referees, if this was like 5-6 years ago before VAR was introduced, we can be like, all right, maybe they didn't see it. But now that they've got the ability to tell them to go on, firstly, VAR can review it. That's number one. So they've got 4 people in that sort of booth up there looking at it. Number 2, they can actually send the referee to go and look at the tackle if they deem it to be a red
You know what annoys me? Oh, we looked at Pickford's tackle and we thought, yeah, that's all right.
The commentator said, I think he got the ball. That's what the commentator said. I think he got the ball.
So
I'm telling you, Dan,
it is mind-blowing how many replays they're allowed to do. By the way, some of these decisions take 2-3 minutes, right? And they still can't be competent enough to keep it consistent. That's why we're getting onto these referees, because you've got no excuses. Because like before, we as fans of football, we were like, we had the luxury of watching it on different angles. So we were getting harsh on the referees.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are like, but
you got better angles than us because you have actually all the camera angles that we don't get.
No, but that's now. But the reason why a lot of people didn't get onto referees as much as they do now is because now you have the same luxury. You can look at the replays, you can look at the angles, you can look at and you've got 5-6 people making a decision. What is actually like wrong with all of you guys? By the way, you guys have to do a course where you sit down, you learn the rules, you do an exam, and then you go and it's not like a fan perspective where, okay, we think we know the rules or we think we know how to interpret rules. These guys actually get told how to interpret it. There needs to stop being this protection of referees. They need to come out I've always said it, right? Come out on the pitch. Yeah. Fans have tomatoes ready in their hands, right? And if they talk bullshit, they pelt them with tomatoes. I'm sick of
Ben and Tom, would you swap Nunes and Nkunku?
No.
No, probably
it would be astonishing if even both say no.
Tom, you take Nkunku over Nunes though. If you could get rid of Nunes,
I'd take most strikers over Nunes. But if we buy Nkunku, it's a case of Nkunku isn't the guy to lead the line for me. I kind of need someone else.
Do you want an out 9? Is that what you want? Because I saw you getting linked with João Pedro, and I think Nkunku's a similar profile to João Pedro.
I want a guy like I want a better Jota.
Right.
I want to say better, like a more fit Jota. Because
anyone in the league, in the league in particular that you think?
I mean, I really like Matheus Cunha. I think Mateus Cunha's a
but isn't
real
Kunku
good
not
forward.
in a similar mold to a Cunha and a João Pedro and that type of player?
And Nkunku's even better than Cunha, just to be honest, people.
That's what I think.
Nkunku is better.
This is crazy. Ask Tom the question again.
There's less baggage though there.
The idea of like
Nkunku's had injury problems, and Nkunku's on a higher wage.
Tom, read the question again. What would you say?
No.
You would swap Nunes.
Come on.
No, because I would sell Nunes and buy a different striker.
Would you swap Nunes for Lautaro Martinez?
Probably.
Probably. You're thinking about it.
By the way,
I mean, when I say probably, it's a yes. In reality, it's a yes. Fucking hell, yes.
I would do it. I would absolutely do it with you.
Why would you want Darwin Nunes?
I don't want that. It's not. I want Darwin Nunes. I do want Lautaro Martinez to be my captain and my main striker. So I don't care if you give me a couple of woods of steak. I'll work with them better than Lautaro Martinez. People don't understand how bad Lautaro Martinez is. AMT saying,
I like
Klein on Calafiori's ankle, panel thoughts.
Yeah, there's another one. Like, this is the problem. Like, now we've discussed how many is that the third or the fourth one this weekend that potentially could be a red card. This is the problem that we're going to see is the physicality, especially with the physicality of the Premier League being so high as it is. You're going to just start seeing these tougher tackles, these harder tackles, especially like the likes of Everton and Dyche, who love doing this anyway. It just increase.
No, I think we need to. But we're not going to see tougher tackles. We're going to see more reckless tackles. You can have a fair tough tackle. You can have a fair, throwing your weight around type thing. What we're seeing now is dangerous and reckless and endangering, opposition with some of the tackles that I'm seeing. Even like how many times this season have we seen someone get stamped on their Achilles or right down their Achilles? Always been a red card. That has always been a red card, and yet now I've seen about 4 times this season where it's not.
It's so but what it is though, they're so smart with how they do it because they're running alongside the player, and then as they're running, they kind of they know what they're doing.
No, I don't think Nathaniel Klein went there on the intention of like stamping.
Oh no, intent doesn't matter though. Intent is irrelevant.
Unless you can tell me what his heart is saying or his mind is saying, then
no, I can tell.
No, you can't.
How are you a fucking mind reader?
I can't.
Intent's never mattered anyway.
It doesn't matter, but I can tell if a player is going to hurt a player or not. I can.
Mo, I
am that experienced. I am that experienced to know the player is going there on the intention of hurting the opposition, or it was just a tough tackle that is going in full on. There's a difference.
But Mo, I think you are probably a good judge of character in that sense, and you come from a place of experience. I don't believe these referees are either. I don't believe they are.
Which is the point. This is why Gary Neville, and listen, we all disagree with Gary Neville. The only thing Ian Wright, Gary Neville, and Roy Keane and Carragher said on the overlap, said, we need people who played the game, who know the game, 100%. So they understand when a player, I'm going to say this right before we end the show. I know when a player does the tackle and leave the stud up, knowing that the opposition will hit the studs. I know when the opposition is rolling on the ground and leaving the foot up, so the opposition will hit that foot. I know that. I've done that. I've learned how to do that. I've learned how to do that. I was that guy. Exactly. It shouldn't matter. All what matters is the safety of the opposition. Right?
If it's a reckless tackle.
I don't think the Nathaniel Klein one was a red card because it was not that high. It was a kind of ankle level, and they have been very consistent on this. The Caicedo, maybe, I don't think is a red card, to be honest. I think the Pickford is a red card. Stupinian is a red card. These are the two that I think it's definite red card. MT said, intent is not the issue. I agree with Tom. By the way, Tom, I never disagreed with you, Tom. Sometimes you miss the ball because you're going for the ball, but you're too rash and you hit the opposition. That's a red card. That's just, I'm not ever arguing that with you, Tom. Ever.
No, ever. My problem is that people are saying that as long as you don't intend to hit someone, you shouldn't be sent off.
No, I disagree.
I disagree too.
It never comes
Sometimes
down to
it's called a rash tackle. Sometimes it's called a By the way, there is a word that they stopped using, but they used to use back in the days. Was it dangerous or reckless? They used to say uncontrolled force. Yeah. That is what they used to do.
That's another one they're using now. He's not you put enough force into the tackle. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's not a red card though. Because it's still dangerous. If it's still
back in the days, you guys know back in the days, we used to get red cards, and the referees used to tell us This is an uncontrolled tackle. You cannot be not in control of your body when you're tackling because you're endangering the opposition. You can't do that. You can't go assuming that you're going to get the ball.
He like left the ground, and as soon as you leave the ground, you're out of control of where your body's going.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like,
and that's what.
Red
by
card.
the way, they used to give red cards for this, and we used to have exactly when I used to play football. They used to tell us, "You went on an uncontrolled tackle and you endangered the opposition. You have to get a red card."
No, do you know why it went a red card last season? Because in Chelsea versus Tottenham, Udogie wasn't sent off for it when he jumped left the ground 2-footed into Sterling.
And now we're starting. Now then, this is actually the repercussions. Then from even last season, we're now seeing more and more players make these challenges because exactly what Mo said about Pickford, they're getting away with it. So why would they stop? They're not going to stop until the PGMOL come down on it and say,
"This guy is not going to stop. This guy is not going to stop." Pickford, he's that character. I know these characters. Aubameyang red card a few years ago. I can't remember. Souls can remember. I don't.
Was it against Crystal Palace?
I believe. Yeah, it was. It was like he did get the ball, but it was a high tackle, and they actually said it was the intent that he went in with. But there was like, but intent again is just not a good way of judging a situation. If it's a bad tackle, it's a bad tackle. Eddie Nketiah got something similar as well. He won the ball, but because of the way he went into the tackle, they said that you could endanger the opponent.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question. If Pickford did this tackle on Harry Kane, would he get a record?
No.
No.
No,
I think the game will be delayed because they have to go into deliberation. Because
on Van Dijk.
Which Englishman do we prefer?
Offside, didn't he?
Dan, I'm talking about England national team players with the referees.
I understand why you're saying he's
like, for example, if that tackle was on Sterling, for example, Pickford might have, because Sterling. If that tackle was in Saka, he might have got a record because Saka is the England national team starter.
I don't think it's that. I think it's the overall protection of keepers. Keepers are almost given a ruling of their own inside their own penalty area. The only issue I have with keepers,
you're allowed to break someone's leg as long as you're inside.
Hang on, wait. Sanchez did it against Liverpool
I don't know
the
if
other
it was
week.
Milan or someone, but someone literally punched a player to win a corner ball. I can't remember which game it was against Arsenal. And nothing happened. They didn't even get a yellow card for it.
Yeah, but it's very different.
No. They got you literally got a penalty on it and a yellow card
you did get a penalty for it.
West Ham.
They're very different scenarios as well.
It's the West Ham. He punched Gabriel in the face.
They're very different scenarios though, because if a goalkeeper goes with his hands to commit any action in the box, you can make a case that he's trying to get the ball. If a goalkeeper goes with his feet in the box anywhere, it automatically is like he's putting himself into a disadvantage because he's the only one with the advantage in the box that can use his hands. So actually, that's where he should be going to claim the ball, is go face first. Pickford did it obviously yesterday. He's done it before. Sanchez did it against Liverpool, but got away with it because it was offside or something like that. Yeah. If you remember, they didn't end up giving the penalty. I think they said he won the ball, but it was incredibly lucky. If a goalkeeper goes to ground to use their feet in the box, I think that has to remove any protection.
Yeah, and especially tackles, guys. Like, fuck me, 2 studs up towards a player. That's fucked up. Anyway, listen, people. I want to thank you guys. Merry Christmas to everyone. Tom, I know you. I'm not sure if you're going to do content or anything soon.
I don't know either. Just subscribe and have that notification bell on.
Dan did the review on Chelsea already. So you guys go and watch it. Dan's channel is in the description. Go and watch the review on the Chelsea game. It's a fantastic and amazing review. Gunnar Souls, appreciate you. And I want to ask the 500 people that are still here, yes or no? Was Gunnar Souls rational? First of all, I'm going to ask the 2 panelists. Was Souls rational? Just a yes or no in the chat, guys. Was he rational or not? I'm going to start with Tom, actually. Was Gunnar Souls rational?
He's been one of the more rational guests that we've ever had on the show. I'll give him that.
Dan?
Yeah, no, I think he was. As an Arsenal fan goes, I think
he was better than a certain
Let me ask you that. Is he better? Was he more rational than Rory, though? Whoa.
See, I
don't know. Rory's rational, man. Rory's rational. Very.
Rory knows how to press my fucking buttons. That's the problem.
Fantastic! I'm glad to have you, Gunnar Souls, and Vator. Of course, Vator Games is in the description. Vator is great. Nobbins is a little bit ill, so he couldn't make it. We wish him speedy recovery. Merry Christmas. And Rory is, of course, enjoying his Christmas time. But this one is going to take it to Hussam, where he's going to tell you all about how Liverpool are favourites to win the title. Liverpool now are ahead of the pack, of course.
Are we still doing left in the tree?
Is that right?
Well, we have to be considering your players don't know what a title race is, apparently. They don't know what's a title. We don't know what a title is. So we kind of have to be. I just wonder if Sam's still doing left in the tree and all that.
Yeah, he is. He's never going to say. He said only February, March when I'm going to say we're favorites to win the league. He's saying that Arsenal still have a bigger chance of them winning the league, which is crazy. That's it.
Even with the Saka injury?
I haven't seen him since the Saka injury. Did you guys sleep with him in the same house?
I don't know. I don't know if you've had a message off him.
Sleep with the guy in the same house.
Wow, that's irrational, that, Mo. I was just making a question. Do you talk to Hassam? You go irrational with
the news came out an hour or 2 hours before the show.
Yeah, I don't know if you're in a group chat with him or something.
I am on fucking 50,000 group chat with you as well. We are on 50,000 group chats. But listen, people, thank you guys for watching. Let's go to enjoy Sam as well. We'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people.